Happy Super Bowl Sunday. Good morning. We are live on SportsGrid. It is almost time for the big game, meaning it's only 76 hours away, and our coverage begins now. It's Fantasy Sports Today. I'm Craig Mish, joined by Joe Pisapia, Matt Stryker, and my co-host during the week. It is George Kurtz. The four of us are going to walk you through all of the daily fantasy options, all of the different storylines, and everything that you could possibly ask for leading up until the big game Sunday afternoon. Gentlemen, it is great to be with you. Once again, another year, another Super Bowl, and for Joe Pisapia, it's a Super Bowl with the New England Patriots in it. Who would have thought that at the beginning of the season? I mean, forget about the Seattle Seahawks getting there, which is obviously a huge surprise. You could have cashed some big money betting on their future, not just to get to the championship game, but to get to the Super Bowl as well. But, Joe, a season where the Patriots started off with a loss against the Raiders and still are sitting here in February.
Trust the process, baby. I'm excited to be here with all of you, really, because I need to turn these studio lights on because it's 2 degrees in New Jersey, and the warmth of the studio lights is really the only reason I'm here in the office doing the show today, just to stay warm so I don't literally freeze to death. But, yes, the New England Patriots, I was cautiously optimistic. I had the over on their win total, 8.5. I thought they could win enough games to maybe sneak in the back door of the playoffs. But it just goes to show you, once again in this league, coaching and quarterback is everything. If you have both of those things, then you have an opportunity. And the New England Patriots hired the right coach. He created the right environment for this team to do what they've done this year, which is just blow away all expectations. And now they're sitting on the door of a championship, which no matter how much you might have been bullish on the Patriots, and I was bullish on them turning things around and getting back to a certain standard of play, nobody, and I mean nobody, thought that they would be here with an opportunity to win another Super Bowl.
George, let's go to you. The Super Bowl is here. You're super hyped for it. I know that you've stated on social media that this is your favorite Super Bowl of all time, with the exclusion of the last time that Seattle played in the Super Bowl against New England. I know that was your favorite Super Bowl. No, but in all seriousness, look, the game itself doesn't feature two teams that I think countrywide will have the interest that it normally does, such as a Buffalo, a Kansas City, a Rams, so to speak. But we all know that by the time the game kicks off, everybody's watching, right?
It doesn't have that player that would draw in the, I guess, non-rabid fans, right? So that's really the issue. There's no Patrick Mahomes here. I guess you said Matthew Stafford, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson. It doesn't have that there. And I'll admit, I'm not as hyped for the Super Bowl as some others for whatever reason. Maybe it's that's it because there's not a lot of sex involved here. Unlike Joe. By the way, Joe, I'm nice and warm here. I'm twice as good as you. I'm at 4 degrees, by the way. So yeah, it's a little chilly. I got a heater right there, by the way. That's coming. It's blasting right on me because it's cold in here. So I hear you about the warm lights do feel nice. Listen, I'll push back on Joe a little bit because that's our job here. One of the big reasons the Patriots are here, and by the way, I won money on their over as well. Not because of Joe, but because of another New England Patriots fan, this network, Adam Kaufman, who talked me into it. I guess in August, we look at their schedule. Their schedule is they're going to get over 8.5 wins. They're going to do this. I think they can be a playoff team too. So thank you, Adam Kaufman. He talked me into it, and I took that bet here. But let's get the gorilla off in the room here. The schedule is easy. It's not their fault. It's not college. They played their schedule. They won the games they had to play. And then in the playoffs, everything fell their way as well, right? No quarterback. C.J. Stroud still throwing interceptions against New England. It is what it is. So it should be an interesting game tonight. I think it's going to be more of a defensive battle, even though I took the over.
The most elegant orator of them all, Matt Stryker, joins us now here. He is amongst our Brady Bunch 4. Matt, we have seen Sam Darnold be tossed, thrown away, discarded, backed up, and then somehow landing a free agent contract with the team that's 1 game away and the favorite to win the Super Bowl. If that's not a story, I don't know what is.
Yeah, no, it's a great lead, and on in the show we'll talk about potential Super Bowl MVPs, and Joe knows this as well as all of us. It usually goes to a quarterback, and I think Darnold could be that guy. I think overall it sends a broader message that you're never out. No matter how many times you're down, you're never out. And also it speaks to football overall, how in the right system, with the right schemes and the right things in place, anyone can truly excel if their qualities are highlighted and their detriments are hidden. Kind of like this panel here, don't you think?
Yeah, I think detriments is the one way to put it. All right, so guys, I think like the one thing that everybody wants, I think that we can agree on here, and maybe Joe doesn't want this, but I think we want a good game. We want a good game, right? So, George, I'll start with you on this one here, and then we'll get to our props and everything else, fantasy. So the line has been 4.5 for a week. The total has been 4.5, I feel like, for 2 weeks. So we haven't seen much movement here. It is very bizarre to me to see publications reporting that there's more money bet on Seattle than any other Super Bowl, because that just can't be factual, else the line would move. So I don't understand that. But to me, it seems like it could be a close game. George, did you land on a side or a total in this game for people who are starting off this morning?
I also think it'll be a close game. I do know that Super Bowls generally in the past, not the recent past, but sometimes they do get out of hand. One team starts trailing and everything just goes wrong because it's the last game of the season. You're taking chances here. So I understand that as well. I think Seattle is the better overall team. I don't feel greatly confident in it because I don't trust Sam Darnold. I know if he wins this game and plays well, I'll never say it again. I'll never say, and by the way, I said this after he won the championship game against the Rams, and I'm still saying it. So that's my only worry. If Drake May hadn't been playing pretty much as poorly, if not, really terrible in the playoffs, I would feel better. But I don't think I trust either quarterback. That's my issue. That's why I don't really love the over. Even though I can't take it under in the Super Bowl. I just can't do it. So I'm on Seattle. I just think they're the better overall team. I don't think they're a great team or a team that's going to run away with this unless New England's making mistake after mistake after mistake. I think it's going to be a close game. I think Joe's going to be bouncing off the walls at 9 o'clock. Oh, my God, we got to do this. It's one of those, if you're a fan of the team, yeah, like biting your nails and whatever superstitious you like to do is what's going to be going on here. Like I said, I took Seattle, took the 4.5, took the over as well, but I'd be lying if I said I feel great about either one. I like my props much better.
Matt, the game itself, Matt, is certainly one I think that's more difficult to handicap in the past because we're entering the Super Bowl with a half of play in a championship that you have to throw out the window. The weather was so bad between Denver and New England, there was absolutely nothing to take away from that second half to use in this handicap here. Who did you land on in the Super Bowl today?
And you're smart to bring that up because you have to do what every good handicapper does and say, what are the outcomes that I can foresee? And I arrived at 3 possible outcomes in this game. A close one, New England wins. A close one, Seattle wins. Seattle blows the doors off of this team. And I don't think that's going to happen because sitting with Joe every week, the defense here, a lot of people are underestimating. You mentioned how line movement and why that hasn't been happening. The defense is here. I don't think Vegas understands. I don't think the public understands what to do with 2 very, very good defensive teams. Correct.
Joe, what do you got here? I know who you got, but what do you got?
Well, look, I've got an under here because I do think it's going to be a highly contested defensive matchup. And there's a lot of headlines running through this Super Bowl too, not just the Sam Darnold redemption, but Mike Vrabel possibly being the first head coach of a team that he won a Super Bowl with as a player to win. Also, I hope George is sitting down because I want to take the crutch away from him, and I think he's going to fall to the floor because I'm so sick and tired of hearing about the New England Patriots schedule. You play whoever they put in front of you. And the last couple games in the playoffs, they played 3 of the top 5 defenses in the league, beat all 3 of them. And the Seattle Seahawks, outside of the Rams in their own division, don't tell me about the 49ers because to me, the 49ers were the fraudy Niners all year. They played after week 8 of their bye. The Washington Commanders, the Arizona Cardinals fired their head coach. They played the Titans, fired their head coach. They played the Minnesota Vikings where Brosmer was playing quarterback. They played the Atlanta Falcons, fired their coach. The Indianapolis Colts, who didn't have Daniel Jones anymore. So let's not talk about easy schedules here because both teams benefited from easy schedules. Most good teams do.
Yeah, the correlation usually comes next season, where New England's going to have to play a much tougher schedule. We'll be right back, though.
How about selling it to a minority ownership group that could show the NFL is moving in the right direction? Hey, it's one thing to talk about black coaches in the National Football League. It's one thing to talk about black general managers It's another thing to start talking about a minority owner owning the football team.
Outspoken with Dan Cilio. Only on SportsGrid.
Aaron Peterson right now is minus 300 to be the top pick in the NBA draft. And anybody that saw the game on Saturday, you saw his vicious dunk and he saw his explosiveness, and he hung 18 points up on the board in the first half, right? What did he do in the second half? Ask Bill Self. Why did he come out of the game? What did Bill Self say? I don't know. Ask him. This is where we're at right now.
In-game live only on SportsGrid.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
Heads or tails? Over or under? Seahawks, Patriots. Don't stress. SportsGrid breaks it all down.
They are locks. We can capitalize.
We're going to see a ton of over money.
Props, expert guests, and smart insight leading up to the big game.
Oh my God, if Sam Darnold wins the Super Bowl.
Only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to Fantasy Sports Today here on SportsGrid. Time to take a look at some props going into the big game on Sunday. It's our Super Bowl edition of the show, and we thought we would start off with the super quarterbacks here on the show and take a look at their passing yards and passing attempts. Matt Stryker, I'm going to begin with you. I'm going to get a lot out of you this hour, that's for sure. All right, so here we go. We got Drake May, 220.5 passing yards for the New England Patriots. Drake May takes on that Seattle defense that has been up and down all season, recently more up than down. Do you have May going over or under this number?
All right, so I mentioned before the break my three possible outcomes: New England in a close one, Seattle in a close one, or Seahawks pulling away. So this number here tracks unless the fourth option occurs, which I don't see, which is New England pulls away early and goes run heavy. I'm going to go over here because of the way the game scripts kind of offer the option for Drake May to go over this, correct?
All right, Joe, I'll go to you. Certainly it sounds like you're predicting, you're not saying it's going to be a boring game, but you have predicted a low scoring game. So some of these props I'm going to guess are going to go under for you, but let's start with May here.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the under here. I'm giving a lot of respect to the Seattle defense, and I just want to say for the record that I think Matt is 100% correct when he says in the range of outcomes, there is one where Seattle just blows the doors off the Patriots, and they're just in a different class than anybody realizes. I think that's very possible. But I do also believe in the Seattle Seahawks defense. They're a very good unit. You can score on them, and they do give up big plays. And I think that is the thing Drake May has taken advantage of in some of these games against the Houston Texans. You've seen it. Again, weather was an issue in that game as well. People forget it was snowing in that game. Obviously, the Denver game, you mentioned a tough environment, tough defenses, the snow, everything there as well. But I think with a clear field here and clear weather, Drake May will still make some plays. I think to go over something like 220, and you've seen in some markets, this has even moved to 224, which I think is really interesting, that obviously people have gone over on this one. I think it plays to the under, and typically these teams come out of the gate a little slow, and that usually hurts some of these big total numbers as well.
George, you want to break the tie here on Drake May? 220.5, over under.
As Joe said, by the way, I got 224.5, so the late money is coming in on the over. Not a surprise. It's what generally happens here. I agree with Joe. I don't feel great. This is nothing. Greg, I think I have 26 prop bets right now. This is not one of them. All right. I don't feel great about really either quarterback throwing the football up and down the field. I think you can throw on Seattle. I do. I think you attack that secondary. I just don't know if that's going to be New England's game plan to do that. I think they're going to be a little gun shy at first with Drake. Want to get him into a groove here before they start unleashing the ball deep here. So I would play the under on this as well. I think it'd be close. I think they have the number about right here. But the fact that it's going up, and it wouldn't shock me if we get 225 by game time, leads me to take the under.
George, as everyone knows, is our responsible gaming advocate for today's show.
Gonna have fun. I'm gonna have fun.
All right, so let's have more fun. George, back to you for Sam Darnold. A little bit higher, as it probably should be. He averaged more over the course of the season. Because I think that basically what happened with Darnold is he was up or down, George, right? Like it basically wasn't in the middle. He had these big games, or he had these games where we thought that he was turning back to a pumpkin again.
Yeah, his is at 230.5 right now. So that's also gone up from what it was earlier in the week. Once again, not a surprise. What would worry me about Darnold is I expect Mike Vrabel, because this is what I would do, and it's what Bill Belichick always did, to try and take away the other team's best option, which is JSN, right? And we take away JSN, are we really afraid of Cooper Kupp? Are we afraid of Shaheed? I think they'll take their shots to Shaheed, which is what you should do. Get those safeties to back off here. But we're not really afraid of them. They don't have that really good number two. A lot of teams don't. I get that. But I think it's going to put some pressure on Darnold. Now, I'd like to think they would run the ball with Kenneth Walker. I do. But if you look at the Seahawks numbers throughout the season, when they play a top 10 run defense, they don't run into brick walls. They sort of give up here. We're going to throw the ball. That's what McDonald has done all season long with Kubiak, and I expect him to do that again today. So I think there's a better chance for Darnold to get over, but I keep saying it. I can't trust him. I just can't. I can't trust him enough to take that bet.
Yeah, Joe, it's interesting because George does bring up a good point with Belichick taking a player away. But that was several years ago. It does seem like the NFL is evolving to the point where the talent is overcoming the scheme, or else Puka Nacua wouldn't catch 15 balls for 120 yards every game. And JSN seems to do the same thing no matter what, or no matter who's taking him away. Do you project a big game for Darnold in this matchup?
Well, look, there's not a lot of great cover corners in that division that he had to play either. Let's just put that out there. But I actually, I know it pains George to agree with me, so I'm going to make it easy. I agree with George, everything he said there. It's not necessarily that they're going to stop JSN, but they can slow him down. Christian Gonzalez, Marcus Jones, this secondary is really good. They're really smart. They play good football. And I think limiting him is the key to this game, not stopping him. You're not going to stop JSN. He's too talented of a player. But when you have to make Sam Darnold make the reads, make all the throws, and find the secondary guys, especially with pressure, he's going to struggle. I know we're going to get more into that later on, but I think when you're looking at this one here, Sam Darnold also not necessarily having that run game. People forget, before Milton Williams got hurt and missed a month of time, Patriots were the number one team against the run. They only gave up one guy to get 50 yards against them on the ground in any single game. So when Milton Williams is back and healthy, this run defense is really good. So I'm on the under here on this one as well as Darnold. This might not be as fun and explosive as Super Bowl as we saw last year in terms of offense the Eagles put up.
Matt, you want to make it unanimous here? How do you feel about Darnold today?
Yeah, like baseline passing suggests this goes over, but this is a different game. Seattle gets out front early. I think that eats into the number. It's the Super Bowl, so the public's going to take the over, but I think the smart wagerer, I'm with you guys. I think we go under.
All right, so across the board here on 228.5. All right, real quick, Sam, let's throw up these two because we're only going to have a minute or so to do them. We've got Drake May, 30.5 pass attempts. Sam Darnold, 29.5 pass attempts. George, of these two, do you like either one, both, or none?
I would go, listen, I do like the Darnold one. I do have a small play on that. Said it before. I don't think Seattle's going to want to run into a brick wall with the New England rush defense, so they're going to have to throw the ball. Just I don't think the yardage might be there. I think there's going to be a lot of small, short dump-offs, which I think both quarterbacks might do to get into a groove to start the game here. So I do like the over for Darnold. May, he's going to run some, probably not as much.
Joe, real quick.
Yeah, I agree with George's sentiment there because May's rushing ability too. Probably I would go under on May and over on Darnold.
10 seconds, Matt, for you. Anything?
Yep, it's the stay away on both here. Too many things can eat into certain options.
Okay, fine. We can pass on that one. We won't pass on defense. We'll get to some props when we return next on Fantasy Sports Today.
How about selling it to a minority ownership group that could show the NFL is moving in the right direction? Hey, it's one thing to talk about black coaches in the National Football League. It's one thing to talk about black general managers. It's another thing to start talking about a minority owner owning the football team.
Outspoken with Dan Cilio. Only on SportsGrid.
Aaron Peterson right now is minus 300 to be the top pick in the NBA draft. And anybody that saw the game on Saturday, you saw his vicious dunk, and you saw his explosiveness, and he hung 18 points up on the board in the first half, right? What did he do in the second half? Ask Bill Self. Why did he come out of the game? What did Bill Self say? I don't know. Ask him. This is where we're at right now.
In-game live only on SportsGrid.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
Heads or tails? Over or under? Seahawks, Patriots. Don't stress. SportsGrid breaks it all down.
They are locks. We can capitalize.
We're going to see a ton of over money.
Props, expert guests, and smart insight leading up to the big game.
Oh my God, if Sam Darnold wins the Super Bowl.
Only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to Super Bowl Sunday here on SportsGrid. This is Fantasy Sports Today as we continue on taking a look at some fantasy props, betting props as well, leading up to the big game this afternoon as we have full coverage as well. Let's take a look at the player to record a sack. Let's play some defense here, guys. We'll start off with DeMarcus Lawrence, who is plus 120. Off the edge, you have Leonard Williams plus 142. Byron Murphy II plus 172. K'Lavon Chaisson at plus 182, and Milton Williams at plus 194. So thus, we have a lot of different options here to get a sack. Generally, start with Matt here. Generally, Matt, it's an edge rusher that's going to have the best shot at a sack.
I agree.
And Lawrence is plus 120 here. So I don't know if you have any positions here on the defense going into the game. But you can make a lot of money if somebody comes out of the backfield as a safety, rushes the passer and gets a sack. But beyond that, it's not the most predictable.
And it's also on being able to pick that up. But you led with the point here. For me, and everything that I've been reading and seeing is that Seattle's interior presence and pressure is going to be so much that you have to start to look to the outside linebackers or those edge rushers. And I think it's guys like, hard names to pronounce like Nwosu, Jacob Martin, these kind of guys that may be able to be in line to catch that off sack, like you were saying. If anything, maybe Byron Murphy at plus 172 creates that interior presence and pressure. But I think it results. He'll have a hurry or pressure, but it'll result in a sack for someone on the other side.
All right, so Joe puts this show together. For those of you who don't know, he's sort of like the co-producer of the show. So my guess is if we're doing this early in our program, he must really like something. That's my guess. I don't know. I could be wrong on this one, but knowing Joe, I feel like there's a prop here he likes.
There is. And, George said earlier that he didn't think the Super Bowl had enough sacks in it. So I wanted to make sure that we put a little sacks appeal into this program here. So for me, it's K'Lavon Chaisson, who has really had a renaissance. Former first-round pick here for the Jaguars. Didn't really pan out, I think, the way people had hoped overall. He's kind of found new life in New England. He is getting after the quarterback. He is making big plays. He's been their big play guy, and you're getting almost 2-1 on this, plus 182 for Chaisson here to get a sack. I do agree with your sentiment too. It's usually the edge guys coming off there, and that DeMarcus Lawrence is certainly a good bet here, plus 120. I think we all just get so wrapped up in all the offensive ideas, but this is a defensive Super Bowl. And if it's going to be a defensive Super Bowl and possibly be an under as well, then we should be turning our attention to some of the defensive props, because I think that is how you really make money. And you look at this list, man, they're all plus money. And I think sometimes we get too wrapped up and too one-sided, always looking at the offensive side of the game of the Super Bowl instead of the defensive side. And I think this game is going to be a little bit different than last year.
George, you have a lot on the plate this week with the props. Is defense one of them? Do you like any of these?
I'm not really a sack player. I'm more of a tackle and assist guy. That's where I generally go with this. DeMarcus Lawrence, by the way, is down to plus 100. So there are a lot of people believe that he's going to be in the backfield. Good to see an ex-Cowboy in the Super Bowl, right? That makes my heart do nothing. Okay, absolutely. But I am a DeMarcus Lawrence fan, so I do wish him the best in this game. But for him to lose, go down 20 cents, a little strange. He's not really a sack artist. He's very good against the run here. So I would probably go with Joe as well, with Chase on here, who, by the way, has lost 4 cents down to plus 178.
Yeah, and I think one of the other bets, guys, is that's really heavily bet throughout the years, even before kind of when sports betting became legal. Right around that time, the total amount of sacks in the game was a very popular bet. Sometimes sits at 4, 5, 6, depending on the season. But Joe, I feel like this is maybe one of those numbers where we could get a lot more than we normally get in a Super Bowl.
Yeah, you really could, especially because Sam Darnold is apt to take a few sacks now and again. I mean, if you can just dial it back to 2 weeks ago, he took some huge sacks for big losses in that game against the Rams, ended up not hurting them. But I think it didn't hurt them because the Rams defense, I think, has a lot of holes in it, and they exposed it. But I think it's going to be a different story here with that New England defense. Also on the New England side, too, with Drake May. Drake May is a young quarterback, and Drake May has shown in these games against the Texans and the Denver Broncos that he is going to take some sacks in there. And I think, Will Campbell, we could talk about that, too, on the left tackle side, not necessarily having his best run, I think, in the playoffs, so everyone would agree. There's absolutely opportunity for an over on a total sack total as well. And again, I think we just, far too much emphasis on the offensive side, far too many good positive numbers here, Craig, on the defensive side, where you can make money, plus money on just looking at a couple guys to get a sack, or like you said, the total over as well.
We'll dive into some of the numbers a little bit deeper here on this edition of Fantasy Sports Today. It's our Super Bowl programming. We're off to a great start. Stick with us. Still plenty of time to come here on this Sunday edition of the show. We'll be right back. Don't go away.
Selling it to a minority ownership group that could show the NFL is moving in the right direction. Hey, it's one thing to talk about black coaches in the National Football League. It's one thing to talk about black general managers. It's another thing to start talking about a minority owner owning the football team.
Outspoken with Dan Cilio, only on SportsGrid.
Aaron Peterson right now is minus 300 to be the top pick in the NBA draft. And anybody that saw the game on Saturday, you saw his vicious dunk, and you saw his explosiveness, and he hung 18 points up on the board in the first half, right? What did he do in the second half? Ask Bill Self. Why did he come out of the game? What did Bill Self say? I don't know. Ask him. This is where we're at right now.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
Heads or tails? Over or under? Seahawks, Patriots. Don't stress. SportsGrid breaks it all down.
They are locks. We can capitalize.
We're going to see a ton of over money.
Props, expert guests, and smart insight leading up to the big game.
Oh my God, if Sam Darnold wins the Super Bowl.
only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to Fantasy Sports Today here on Sports Grid. You may have watched our show during the week. George Kurtz and I host every Friday afternoon. They've asked us to come back and do this show on Sunday morning too, but I digress. One of the stats that we talked about during the week, and I would like to bring up to the four of you, because certainly you four could speak about it, not just from a football perspective, but from a baseball perspective as well. And this is my tie-in here. George, we talked on Friday where if we're doing shows like this, maybe 10 years ago, the idea of a point differential, or in baseball, a run differential, really doesn't exist. I mean, no one ever said, well, this team must be good because look at their run differential, or this team must be good because their point differential in the NFL. But as stats have advanced, I hate to say it, it really has determined whether you're good or not. And here Seattle is in the Super Bowl, and in baseball, you could look at teams' run differential. Those teams are in the playoffs. The ones that have it, the ones that aren't, are not. There's outliers every year, obviously. But who had the number one point differential, George, in the NFL this season? They're the team playing in the Super Bowl. It's Seattle.
Yeah, that probably goes to show you a couple of things. Schedule not the toughest. Also, they have an offense. They score some points, and their defense has been very, or its DST has been very opportunistic as well, right, with their returns there. Listen, I think if this game were to get into a shootout, it probably does favor the Seahawks. I don't see that happening, but it probably does favor the Seahawks. They have the more well-rounded offense where JSN got loose, which I just don't see happening in this game. I don't think Vrabel makes that mistake. And I don't think he hit big play after big play, which we've seen all season long with Donald hitting JSN. I think they'll try. I still think it'll be successful anywhere near as much as it was during the regular season here. I think this game plays out pretty much like this. I think both head coaches, offensive coordinators are a little worried about their quarterbacks. Donald because of his past, Drake May because he slept during the playoffs. So I think they want to get them into grooves early with that little short passes, to Stevenson or Kenneth Walker or the tight ends, whatever it might be. Get them into a groove. You don't want either quarterback to make a mistake early, right? Because that would be a problem. All right, then here we go. Oh, Donald, he's seeing ghosts again. Drake May, so the whole playoffs now, he's wilting for whatever reason. So I think they're going to want to get into a groove early, and then we go from there.
Joe, guess who had the second best point differential this season?
Who, Craig? Who might that be? Just out of curiosity.
It's the team in the Super Bowl, the other one.
Oh, yeah. What a concept, Craig. Could you imagine the teams that actually score more points than the other teams by the widest margin win a lot of games? I mean, that's nuts. What a crazy thing. But yeah, point differential per game, not as prolific as the Seahawks, but pretty damn good. And I think that you're looking at both of these teams, I think, don't get enough credit on the offensive side, I think, sometimes, right? I mean, I know the Patriots last couple of weeks haven't looked great, but I want to put it into context again. They were facing the Chargers defense, which is a very good unit, right? Then they put up 26 points, I believe it was, against the Houston Texans defense that nobody was touching for quite some time. And then the Denver Broncos defense in Denver in terrible conditions in their own building. I think that is pretty much the gauntlet. And now you've got one more defense ahead of you. So the one thing that the Patriots offense can do is the explosive play, right? You have Travion Henderson. He's an explosive player. You have Drake May, who's able to, get out there sometimes and give you the big play to Kayshon Boutte or Stephon Diggs. That's kind of what they've been living on, and they need to have a couple of those moments in this game. And I think you saw back in the NFC Championship game, that Seattle secondary between Puka Nacua catches and Devontae Adams catches, they give up big plays. That's a dangerous combination, I think, in this contest.
Matt, let's go through a couple of different things here besides point differential. I feel like we beat that down good. Okay, so let's go to Drake May. He led the league in passer rating against the blitz this season. He was number one. Sam Darnold's passer rating against the blitz was 69.7. But I would say this, Matt, these numbers are fine and they're good. But, let's be honest. Seattle's in the Super Bowl. Their coaches know this. Yeah. So I would guess that while they're relevant for discussion as to things that happened during the regular season, wouldn't you think, forget about New England, wouldn't you think that the Seattle Seahawks would just aptly prepare to make sure that they don't run into a situation like this?
Yeah, absolutely. And we were just talking about the pressures and the sacks, and then we talking about the interior pressure. So Seattle almost has a luxury here where they're not going to have to send too many of the blitzes that you don't think Vrabel or May are going to be able to recognize. But guys, I'm from a time where both of these teams were in the AFC. They wore colorful uniforms. Tony Eason, Steve Grogan with the neck collar, Kurt Warner with a C, Dave Craig, Steve Largent. But Seattle currently has a quarterback, Sam Darnold, that can be mentioned in the same breath as Joe Montana and Tom Brady. And before you attack me, those are the only other two guys that have had back-to-back 14-win seasons. And Darnold did it with two different teams. Brady and Montana both did it with the same team, respectively. So overall, I think trying to attack Darnold's credibility and what he'll be able to do against situations, the guy, the proof is in the pudding here, no?
George, don't you think that that's what Seattle should just do, is just protect him? The end, run the ball, make sure that you bring in an extra fullback or extra tight end, something like that. Not fullback.
And that's what I expect both teams to do. Once again, make those quarterbacks comfortable. Seattle doesn't want to blitz, by the way. They are far from a blitz-happy team. Matter of fact, most people will tell you if they're blitzing, New England got them off their game plan. All right, that's a problem because they can't get there without. Drake May's hitting the shots down the field here, and that's an issue for the Seahawks. They are not a blitz-heavy team. They want to come at you at 4 and play 7 in the secondary there. So I expect them to certainly try that. And if we see them blitzing during the game, which means, McDonald's a little bit out of his comfort zone there. But I think, once again, you want to get these quarterbacks comfortable. You just want to do that. You don't – in the first quarter, I expect them no matter who it is. Right? Troy and Brett Favre would tell you they were nervous during the first quarter of playoff games, Super Bowls, whatever it might be. That's normal here. But you want to get them into a groove or feeling normal as quickly as possible here. And maybe the winner of this game is the quarterback that does get into that groove quicker than the other.
Joe, let's focus a little more on these defenses here and take a look at the rankings. A couple of weeks ago, I remember doing FST, Fantasy Sports Day, with George and telling George to remind me when we get to the Super Bowl, because when we get there, I want to make sure that I'm in on a defensive or special teams touchdown, because we just went through a historical run of those in the playoffs. It seemed like punt returns, kick returns, defensive touchdowns. I don't want to lose sight of that going into this game here too, because I definitely think that card is in play.
Yeah, it definitely is. And I think it's also important to recognize how close these defenses actually are. Seattle's defense has got a lot of buzz because they were probably the best unit in the NFC this year, but they were not the best unit in football this year. And if you look at the AFC, it was tougher because of some of those teams that I mentioned earlier, right? Some of those defensive units in the AFC, much better than the NFC defense overall. But you see how close they all are. And I'm with you. Look, special teams are going to matter in this game, too. You see Shaheed is an explosive player. There's no doubt about that. I wouldn't be shocked if Marcus Jones returned a kick for a significant yardage total that really had a good setup for a score or scored himself. But you see head-to-head in terms of scoring, in terms of total, in terms of points per drive, in terms of yards per play allowed, these defenses are right there, right next to each other in terms of league total. So it's also interesting when you consider it feels in a way from the Sam Darnold story and kind of the Patriots overall story of being a 4-win team for 2 years in a row and turning things around. It feels like both of these teams are kind of underdog narratives, yet they have a clear path here where Seattle is the heavy favorite. 70% of people on Seattle, right? The public very much on Seattle. And I think that's dangerous because I think that plays so much into this Patriots narrative, Craig, that they have built this offseason, which is kind of us against the world and nobody's going to believe in us. And here we are in the Super Bowl and no one believes in us again. I think that's kind of the worst thing to do against a Mike Vrabel coach team.
Yeah, I just think, Joe, I saw those same reports you saw. That can't be true, that 70% of the people are on Seattle. It's not possible. The line would have moved. The line would have moved. It's not possible.
I agree. But, I guess with $2 billion on the game already, that I don't know, maybe it's the size of some of the New England bets that are saying, I don't.
It can't be.
Just telling
the line
you,
would move a half a point or a full point.
All of these things. I'm with you. I agree. It's just a very strange narrative out there, which means that something's off.
Yeah, I don't know how that even comes out. And by the way, the data that's produced is not coming from FanDuel, DraftKings, BetMGM, or anybody else. We'll be right back. Don't go.
about selling it to a minority ownership group that could show the NFL is moving in the right direction? Hey, it's one thing to talk about black coaches in the National Football League. It's one thing to talk about black general managers. It's another thing to start talking about a minority owner owning the football team.
Outspoken with Dan Cilio. Only on SportsGrid.
Aaron Peterson right now is minus 300 to be the top pick in the NBA draft. And anybody that saw the game on Saturday, you saw his vicious dunk and he saw his explosiveness, and he hung 18 points up on the board in the first half, right? What did he do in the second half? Ask Bill Self. Why did he come out of the game? What did Bill Self say? I don't know. Ask him. This is where we're at right now.
In-game live only on SportsGrid.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
Heads or tails? Over or under? Seahawks, Patriots. Don't stress. SportsGrid breaks it all down.
They are locks. We can capitalize. We're going to see a ton of over money.
Props, expert guests, and smart insight leading up to the big game.
Oh my God, if Sam Darnold wins the Super Bowl.
Only on SportsGrid.
All right, let's play some props for the upcoming Super Bowl, something that everyone is familiar with by now, and we'll start off with Seattle in this one. And by my side, I've got Joe Pisapia, George Kurtz, and Matt Stryker here to go through these. We'll see if we can come to a consensus or maybe pull some best bets for you. Let's start off with the top running back potentially in this game. That is Kenneth Walker III, 73.5 rushing yards. Gentlemen, his props are now through the roof, because 2 weeks ago, his running mate, Zach Charbonnet, got hurt and is not playing in this Super Bowl. So, George, ye of 30 prop bets, is Kenneth Walker III someone on your card? If you wouldn't mind taking it out, scroll through your CVS receipt and see if it is on there.
It's like one of those Best Buy receipts, right? That, it goes really up there, and you got to read War and Peace to get to it here. Wait till you find out what my favorite fun prop bet is. One I've never played before, but it should be a joy. It's gone down a yard, which is a little surprising to me. Right? Usually props go up, they don't go down. We're down to 72.5 here. New England has one of the best run defenses in the NFL. I think this is going to be tough. So I have a hard time playing unders generally. If I don't like it, I'm just not going to play it, which is what I've done with Walker. I do have a Walker prop bet, but not on his rushing yardage. I do like the fact that, Craig, you mentioned, no Zach Charbonnet. Halani, I don't know how many touches he's going to get there. It's the final game of the season. You're not saving Walker for anything, all right? You're just not. All right, he's going to get his chances here. Maybe he can break one. I don't think he'll be consistent. I think that's my issue with this area. He's not going to be consistent getting 5 yards here, 5 yards there. You're going to need him to break a 22, 24-yarder there to get this total here. And I don't know if I want to bank on that. I have not taken this.
Matt, anything this week on Kenneth Walker III, a guy who's been so crucial to their success?
Yeah, like anything else, game script approach. I think Seattle tries to control the clock. I think you'll see Walker in red zone scenarios. I mean, New England could stack the box, but there are weapons that can hurt them if they do it too much. So I'm going to go over here.
Joe, Kenneth Walker has been arguably one of the best running backs in the NFL the last few weeks. That's not really saying very much. Running backs these days usually tandems. But look, I mean, if Seattle's going to win this game, it's probably going to be an over for Walker, I would guess.
I would agree with that sentiment. If he goes over this by a large margin, especially if he ends up having a 100-yard day on the ground, I think you're right. I think Seattle will win this football game, but I don't. I think this is going to be an under, and I think this is one of the things that just plays into the strength of New England Patriots defense. They are so good. If you've been watching lately, Woody Marks had a really good game, and then he ran up against the Patriots. Same thing, right? You saw that the Denver Broncos running backs run all over the place on the Buffalo Bills. And what happened the next week? Nothing. Nothing. So I think you're in a spot here where, even going back to the Charger game in the playoffs too, again, Marion Hampton just couldn't get anything going here in that game. So for me, this is the under, and I know I'm bringing back flashbacks to Matt Stryker's previous career. So call me the Undertaker today. I'm in a bunch of unders. I think it's going to be an ugly game, and I think ugly games favor a team like the Patriots that's just going to kind of scheme and coach you to death and try their best to kind of drag you down to their level. And if they drag the Seahawks down to their level and don't let them run the football and force Sam Darnold into spots that he's not comfortable in, some 3rd and long situations, I think them turnovers eventually will end up happening.
George, let's have a look at the running backs on New England. We've got Ramondre Stevenson. His number is set at 49.5 rushing yards. There is Ramondre Stevenson. And we also have Travion Henderson, who had this mini run during the regular season of being arguably the top running back in fantasy for like 3 or 4 weeks. Look at this number, all the way down to 17.5. And as you and I, George, talked about on Friday, I think you and I see completely different stories here playing out. Like, I mean, I think personally there's a reason why this is so low, and that's because I just don't think Henderson's going to play. I don't think he's part of the game plan at all going into the Super Bowl for whatever reason. I don't know, blocking, rushing, I can't figure it out. But I learned my lesson from Todd Gurley a few years ago. Joe remembers that one.
Wow.
Where they're like, he wasn't playing. It was C.J. Anderson, I think that was. And everyone was like, nah, but when they get to the Super Bowl, they're going to put Todd Gurley in. And then he rode the bike for 4 hours. George, what do you got on these?
It's a fair take, right? I mean, Henderson hasn't done anything really since week 12. I think it has to do more with blocking. Joe could probably talk more to why Henderson's not playing than I can. Maybe it's the blocking. Maybe there's an injury we don't know about with him. He's the more explosive player. I think we know that. And to say the Patriots trust Stevenson more is just weird because Stevenson has his fumbling issues. That being said, that number for Stevenson has gone down to 48.5. Henderson's number has gone down to gone up to 18.5. So people are more on Henderson. I just think if the Patriots are moving the ball on offense, I'm not saying moving up and down the field, but they're having some success here, that the Patriots are going to want to get Henderson involved because he's the big play guy, right? He can take it to the house on any snap here. So, yeah, I like kind of Henderson over 17.5. It can happen in one run, a couple of runs here. Maybe I'm just beating my head against the wall. I had Henderson in so many fantasy leagues and hated it in the beginning, loved it in the middle, and hated it again at the end. Maybe I'm back now to loving it here. So I went with Henderson over 17.5. Just don't think you're asking for much here. And for the Patriots, if you think the Patriots are going to win the game, you sort of have to take Stevenson's number over as well. Can they win with a Stevenson under?
Yeah, I mean, Joe, one of my favorite rushing props was Henderson under longest rush in this one. I don't know. I'm not sold that this guy is going to play. Like he hasn't played at all. Why? Go ahead.
I'm with you, and I think George is correct. Again, if you want to bring him down to the mud, right, it's running the football with Ramondre Stevenson. So I think you get a lot of Ramondre in this game. He's gone over this number in 6 of his last 7 games. So I think the Patriots have shown you their hand a little bit, especially with some fumble issues here and again from Travion Henderson too. You get. I will say this though, Travion, if you do want to bet him, I'd be looking at the over on receptions and over on reception yards because it's just. You got to get 1. It's 0.5. That's all you got to get. Now, it's heavily juiced, but if you put the reception along with the yardage total of 4.5 over, all of a sudden you can get it closer to the positive. So if you want to bet Henderson, it's not rushing. It's actually receiving, I think, is the best way to do it because the numbers are so low.
All right, Matt, those 2 numbers for the 2 running backs. Do you have any interest?
Yeah, again, you ask yourself the question, how far up does Seattle need to be for Stevenson to not hit this number? Do you assume maybe he gets 15 to 20 carries, something to that effect? I think Stevenson goes over. And with regards to Travion Henderson, here's the one caveat, that he can snap off 17.5 in one run. He does have that ability, but either way, these are dicey. You guys are right, correct?
All right, let's take a quick break. We'll be back to wrap up this first hour of Fantasy Sports Today here on SportsGrid. Our coverage continues throughout the day. Of course, we got Dan Cilio coming up a little bit later, as followed by some in-game live and great programming covering the big game. We'll be right back. Don't go away.
about selling it to a minority ownership group that could show the NFL is moving in the right direction? Hey, it's one thing to talk about black coaches in the National Football League. It's one thing to talk about black general managers. It's another thing to start talking about a minority owner owning the football team.
Outspoken with Dan Cilio. Only on SportsGrid.
Aaron Peterson right now is minus 300 to be the top pick in the NBA draft. And anybody that saw the game on Saturday, you saw his vicious dunk, and you saw his explosiveness, and he hung 18 points up on the board in the first half, right? What did he do in the second half? Ask Bill Self. Why did he come out of the game? What did Bill Self say? I don't know. Ask him. This is where we're at right now.
In-game live only on SportsGrid.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
Heads or tails? Over or under? Seahawks, Patriots. Don't stress. SportsGrid breaks it all down.
They are locks. We can capitalize. We're going to see a ton of over money.
Props, expert guests, and smart insight leading up to the big game.
Oh my God, if Sam Darnold wins the Super Bowl.
Only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to Fantasy Sports Today here on SportsGrid. As we get ready to wrap up this hour, let's have a look with our panel of experts at the Super Bowl MVP. Certainly, it does feel that the sports books are telling us that if Seattle wins, it's a foregone conclusion that Sam Darnold wins the MVP. But if the Patriots win, maybe it's somebody else. Let's take a look. Darnold is plus 115, Drake May plus 230, Jackson Smith-Njigba plus 550. Kenneth Walker III plus 850, Ramondre Stevenson 30-1, Stephon Diggs 45-1. But Matt, I'll start off with you on this one here. Matt, so if Drake May is plus 230, then the indication is that somebody else could jump in, but yet there isn't a 5-1, a 10-1, a 20-1. The next best is 30-1. So that's a little strange to me.
I like how you're thinking here. So I'm also a fun conspiracy theorist. I want Stephon Diggs to go off to win this thing because all the people would just have such a field day with all the outside football connections and ramifications. But all kidding aside, and Joe knows this better than pretty much anyone, the quarterback has won this award, I think, 34 times. The next closest position is wide receiver. I think they won it 8 times. So if I think Seattle wins, which I do, give me Darnold Palmer here, Sam Darnold at plus 115. It's one of those things. I like bigger plus numbers, but if you're just looking for a win, to me, this seems like the most logical. Darnold.
George?
Well, the simple analysis is what Matt said. I mean, pick a team that wins, go with the quarterback. I mean, it's what always happens in these things. Now, most of us think this is going to be a lower scoring game. I know I bet the over. It's the way I go. So if it's a 17-13 game, you tell me Christian Gonzalez had 2 interceptions, returned 1 for a touchdown? Sure, I can see that. And I can see that, but you're going to need something like that for a defensive player to get it. He's going to have, like I said, a couple of turnovers, return 1 for a touchdown. Hey, there you go, if you get that kind of game here. But for me, it's going to be, I think Seattle's going to win. I think Sam Darnold does enough here. I love JSN, but if JSN catches 6 balls, 110 yards at a touchdown, well, it means Sam Darnold threw all that plus threw more. So you would need to win something where Darnold only throws for 180 yards, of which JSN gets 2/3 of it. And then maybe I can see a wide receiver. No, I'll just go with Sam Darnold.
Joe, what's a better bet here? New England on the money line at plus 205 or Drake May to win the MVP at plus 230?
Exactly my point. Why bother? Just go right for Drake May and go right for the plus 230. You're taking a little bit of risk there. I like Matt's Stephon Diggs narrative because it's fun. And this is Stephon Diggs been playing the league for a decade, waiting for this game, right? And he's one of these guys that, the bigger the game, he really does step up and he shows up in these big games like a lot of players don't. There's been a lot of great players historically when they get into these situations in the playoffs and they kind of fade away. It hasn't been that. But you're right. I mean, it could be something strange because, maybe Drake May doesn't have a great game. Maybe it is Ramondre Stevenson with 2 touchdowns and it's just them running the football. In terms of some of the defensive players to win too, Christian Gonzalez plus 12,000 right now, 12,500 if you want to get something like that where you have that kind of narrative. So you could take a couple shots on some fun ones. I mean, Chason could be a guy that could have several sacks and maybe a sack strip fumble, something like that turns the tide of this game if it is a very low scoring game. The more low scoring and defensive minded this game becomes, the more it does start to get a little strange in terms of who could win MVP. But historically speaking, it's a quarterback award. So if you think the Seahawks are winning, you're betting on Darnold. And look, if you think the Seahawks are winning, why bet the Seahawks on the money line? Just bet this prop. That's my answer to you, because you're getting minus money on the money line there, obviously, for Seattle as the favorite. Just bet Sam Darnold for MVP, because I don't think there's a universe where he is not the MVP if they win, because that narrative has been so strong that the media has been building up for weeks and weeks now of this rebirth and revitalization of Sam Darnold's career, which has been, mind you, a great story.
George, I think that one of your bets is on the Gatorade, if I'm not mistaken, correct? You're in on Gatorade here?
Not my craziest bet. It's not, but yeah, of course, it's a fun little bet here. Listen, odds are it's going to be the green or the yellow, but so I'm going with this logic here. I think the Seahawks are going to win. Sort of a purple team. I like Riptide Rush, which is purple, so I'll take the 8-1 and take my Riptide Rush.
Where is that bet available, by the way? Is it really?
Yeah,
you can bet that one on FanDuel, DraftKings, everything?
Yeah. You can bet on anything in the Super Bowl. That's the beauty of the Super Bowl, Craig Mish.
Yeah, I still thought that the legal stuff didn't have some of those bets, but I guess they do as well. I mean, I'm sure that all of the prediction markets have that too. All right, let's do this. We got to take a breather, quick break. We'll come back with more here on our Super Bowl action-packed edition of Fantasy Sports Today here on SportsGrid, leading you up until the big game, 6:30 p.m. Eastern. We'll be right back after this.
Heads or tails? Over or under? Seahawks, Patriots. Don't stress. SportsGrid breaks it all down.
They are locks. We can capitalize. We're going to see a ton of over money.
Props, expert guests, and smart insight leading up to the big game.
Oh my God, if Sam Darnold wins the Super Bowl.
Only on SportsGrid.
They actually play Miami and nobody else. Bum after bum after bum. Now, the key ingredient to this clause, though, Joe, college football undefeated season. Ooh, no, wait, Donnie. You undefeated in the regular season, you got to win like 4 games to win that championship. No, you don't. It's regular season. Notre Dame, the kings of duck, and saying, hey, we're going to play the easiest schedule ever. They got it.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
The money line keeps climbing, though, if you'll notice.
Yes.
The point spread hasn't moved. It's been locked in at 4.5. The money line, though, keeps creeping up, man. It was 210, and it's funny because normally you figure the number would be correlated, right? It's like, all right, the money line, the point spread's this, that means the money line is that, which tells us there's a lot of money line plays coming in on Seattle.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
He completed a pool bank shot at just 2 years and 302 days. His achievements make him one of the youngest double record holders ever. So let me summarize this for you without reading. He's 2 years old, and he's really good at pool. I mean, that is crazy. 2 years old! How is he doing this? I have no idea. So I guess we got to start training our youngsters to play pool. Okay, fair enough.
Newswire, only